everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Soup Bowl. I'm your host, Renee Murdoch. And do know that when you get in the Soup Bowl, life gets messy. I am so happy that you are liking, that you are sharing, that you are going on this journey with me, because we were never meant to do life alone. And I'm so happy to be going on this life with you as well. Okay, so as we continue on talking about the ADKAR model, right, this conversation about true transformation, leading my life before I lead anything else, before I lead anybody else, I need to first learn how to lead my life in true transformation. Again, this model was developed by the founder, Jeff Hyatt, and he went around in the 1990s. He went around to about 700 organizations, and he wanted to really assess of how they were doing change management. And so he came up with the PROSE. And within the PROSE model, there is the ADKAR model. And that ADKAR model talks about the individual. It gets right to the point because we are not, well, let me say it this way. Organizations do not make the systems. People do. People make the systems. So if you want change to happen in your life, you, see that, you? If you want change to happen in your organization, people are going to actually make that change. And so that's where this model came from. That's why it's most important in the PROSE model. And so in the previous episodes, we discussed the A, which is awareness, right? Awareness alone does not bring about transformation. You can know you need to change and still refuse to do it. You don't make any actions at all. The D, which is desire. Desire without knowledge creates frustration. You cannot become what you refuse to learn how you want to be. And knowledge is more than just information. It is intentional formation. And it's not just being about, oh, I have all this information, I gathered it, and I'm not doing anything with it. So I got this information, and I'm not doing anything with it. I got this information, and I'm not doing anything with it. So that's not just about having knowledge. So we're going to go into the next A, which is called ability. Ability is the daily practice of what you know is right, especially under pressure. Anybody having some pressure today? Anybody had some pressure last week, last month, last year? How about right now? You under pressure right now? All right, let's talk about that. Because in this model, right, you having the ability to get back up again. You having the ability to make the right choice, even when it might seem easier to go another direction. Right. So in this model, right, it's going to require some shifting in your thinking and shifting in your behavior. And I'm going to apply this new behavior when? Consistently, not just next week, not just the next day. I'm going to do it every single day. Practicing discipline when it comes to things when it's not convenient, right? So I need to practice discipline when it's not convenient. So like if I go on a trip, so say for instance, I'm saying that I'm going to run, the marathon. Okay, that might be too much for you. I'm going to run a 10K, right? I'm going to run a 10K. And so every day I know I got to be out there hitting them streets. Maybe not every single day. You probably want to do 5 out of 7. Right? So you're doing 5 out of 7 days. Well, you decide to take a vacation. Are you going to not run for literally 10 days out of the 14 days that you're gone? Or are you going to take your running shoes and ensure that you still get that run in? I think about this all the time, thinking about, I'm not trying to lose weight, but I like to maintain a certain weight, right, in a certain physique. And so when I go on trips, I literally always take with me the band, the resistant band. Yeah, that band right there. And I always make sure that I know certain exercises that I can do just in case the environment that I'm in. And so that takes what? Intentionality. It takes discipline, right? And understanding what those bands can do for me in the time that I need them. So choosing growth over excuses. There's no excuse for you not taking that band. There's no excuse for you not taking that run. You gotta let the excuses go. You're not gonna change if you continue down the path of excuses. So this is what I'm saying. You can't just keep saying, oh, well, this is just who I am. This is how I am. This is what I do. But you say you want change. So for some odd reason, I don't know why people do this. Well, they used to do it. They don't do it anymore. But people used to come up to me. So when I was in the service, those of you that don't know, I used to be in the service. So when I was in the service, I actually earned this badge. It was called Master Fitness, right? And so anyway, people would come to me and they'd be like, oh, I want to lose weight. I want to get to a certain level, whatever. And I said, okay. They say, okay, can you be my accountability partner? I'm like, do you seriously want me to be your accountability partner? Because I don't know if you want me to be your accountability partner. And in that, they were like, yes, I want you. I said, so I'm going to call you out, right? Like you said you want something. And so like, if it doesn't align with what you're saying, then I'm going to call you out. So I think within maybe, I'm being asked maybe 5 times. I think literally out of that, only one person like really stuck the whole way out because everyone else was just like, no, you're calling me. I can't, no. And it just was excuse after excuse. So you really just don't want to do this then, right? So we have to be willing to lay down excuses. We have to be willing to put the disciplines into place. And if you're unwilling to do that, then you're unwilling to grow. So why is this dysfunction there? Why does it keep persisting? Why is it that we don't know how to apply this ability, like when pressure comes about, when accountability comes into place? Because it requires repetition. It requires us to be accountable to somebody. It requires us, right, to put application to when we're under pressure. And I don't know about you, but it's not the time for fleeing. It's not the time for fleeing. It's the time to fight for your position in who you were meant to be. See, it's only the battle in our mind first of why we cannot make the necessary changes that we need to make. If you really want to grow, if you really want to transform into the person who God created you to be, you're going to have to put disciplines into place. You're going to have to come out your comfort zone. You're going to have to make some changes in your life. You're going to have to lay some people down. You're going to have to lay some things down. You're not going to be able to do the same things that you used to do. It's not happening. If you want transformation, you're going to have to learn the word or words or phrase, let go. I'm going to let this go. I'm going to let this go. I'm going to let this go. I'm going to let you have it. You're going to have to learn some phrase. Oh, no. No is a complete sentence. No, I don't have to explain to you why I don't want to do it anymore. It's just a complete no. So many leaders know the right thing, but they choose the conveniency over the consistency, right? They fall into the same habits of what, that behavior, that comfort brings to them, that self-gratification that it brings to them. They abandon the disciplines, right, when results aren't immediate. So I've been working out for a week and you expect to lose 20 pounds. What? It's only been a week. It's only been a week. Right? You want to be the best-selling New York Times best-selling author, but you haven't read a book in a whole year. Yeah, I paused right there intentionally because I just want you to think about that. You haven't read a book in a whole year. You refuse to write in a journal. You refuse to take notes, but you want to be the New York's best-selling author. Okay. And this is why, because we refuse. We don't want to polish. We don't want to deal with, at the end of the day, our character. We don't want to deal with our character. Organizations are becoming toxic. Pretty much they are toxic, right? Because we have people running about doing this type of thing all day long, and you're actually causing harm, right? Hurt people. You heard this before. Hurt people. Hold on. Let me get it right. Hurt people, right? So this is what usually is happening. So we don't deal with those wounds. We don't get our disciplines in check. Then we're going to continue to keep hurting people. and hurting our societies. Our families become emotionally unsafe. And that's just not a good place to be in. So if we're unwilling to be untransformed, we're unwilling to be disciplined. We want to make sure that we can look at ourselves in the mirror every single day and be proud of the person that we are seeing, that we're reflecting. I remember there was a time where I could not look in the mirror because I didn't like the person that I saw. I literally did not like the person that I saw. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way I sound. I didn't like anything about myself. And it was because of multiple things. But I can tell you, because I've done the work, that I like looking at myself. I tell people all the time, my smile is anointed. When I smile, when I show up in a room, you better believe that I'm changing the environment. I'm changing the situation. You know, people's like, "What? You're always smiling." Yes, because it's a gift. That's my gift. That's one of my gifts. It's my smile. Thank you so kindly. So, I want you to reflect on some things on today. I want you to ask yourself, what behavior must I stop excusing and start correcting? What can you do right now that you can start correcting? Can I consistently live what I've tried to portray myself to be, and how I need to start being who I was created to be? I want you to write those answers down, and I want you to reflect there, and then I want you to start making a move. I want you to start making a move today, because there's something that you can change today. So I'm inviting you to take this free assessment by going to my website at www.formosaic.com, where you can see where you are falling at within the ADKAR model. And it's there to show you, right, not to say, oh, you can't, get past this point, but it's showing you where you are to see where you can go. So I don't want you to ignore it. I want you to start moving, right, to make the change. So we are out of time, and I want you to know that leading is teachable. I love you. I love you, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Peace until next time.